Once upon a time, in a land not too far away, there lived a kind and gentle teacher named Jesus. He was known far and wide for his wisdom and love. People from all around would gather to hear his words of wisdom. One sunny day, near the beautiful shores of the Sea of Galilee, a large crowd had gathered on a grassy hill. They had come from all over, hoping to listen to this wise man speak. Among the crowd were men, women, and children, all with hopeful and curious faces. As Jesus talked about love, kindness, and faith, time seemed to fly by. His disciples, who were his loyal followers, sat right by his side, hanging on to every word he said. It was a warm and beautiful day, filled with the warmth of the sun and the warmth of their spirits coming together. But as the day turned into evening and the sun started to set, the disciples began to notice something. The people had been sitting there for hours, and their stomachs began to rumble. Their faces showed signs of hunger. One of the disciples, feeling worried and thoughtful, approached Jesus and said, "Teacher, it's getting late, and the people are hungry. Shouldn't we send them away to the nearby villages to find food?" Jesus, with a kind look and a warm smile, turned to his disciple and said, "You give them something to eat." The disciples looked at each other with confusion. How could they possibly feed this large crowd with the limited resources they had? The nearest villages were quite far away, and their own food was scarce, consisting of only 5 loaves of bread and 2 small fish. Feeding all these people with so little seemed impossible. Andrew, one of the disciples, stepped forward, his face filled with doubt, and said, "Teacher, we only have these 5 loaves and 2 fish. But with such a large crowd, how can this help?" Jesus remained calm and resolute, and he gave his instructions, "Have the people sit down." Though the disciples were confused, they did as Jesus told them. They organized the crowd to sit down neatly on the grassy hill. Jesus took a small basket, raised his eyes to the blue sky, and said a prayer of gratitude. His voice was filled with faith as he thanked the Heavenly Father for this humble meal of 5 loaves and 2 fish. And then something truly magical happened. As Jesus began to break the bread and share the fish, an incredible miracle unfolded. The bread and fish seemed to multiply before their eyes, providing enough food for everyone. People were satisfied and their hunger was gone. People watched in amazement as the basket of bread and fish never seemed to empty. They celebrated this miraculous abundance, which had come from such a humble beginning. they realized that something extraordinary had occurred that day on the hill. This act of love and kindness touched the hearts of everyone present. They saw not only a miracle with the food, but also learned a lesson about faith, generosity, and the endless love of their humble teacher. As the sun disappeared below the horizon, people went back to their homes, not only with full bellies, but also with newfound faith in their hearts. They knew that with Jesus, anything was possible, and love could break all boundaries. Under the starry night by the Sea of Galilee, the memory of the miracle of the 5 loaves and 2 fish continued from generation to generation. It stood as proof of faith, love, and the limitless miracles that can happen next to a compassionate heart. This was a story passed down through the ages, a story filled with hope and wonder, shared under the night's twinkling stars. As we enter dreamland, let us remember this story and the lessons it holds. Just as those 5 loaves and 2 fish multiplied to feed the multitude, our acts of kindness and love can create abundance in the lives of others. May our hearts be filled with compassion and faith, and may we dream of a world where miracles of love and kindness can happen every day. Good night, sweet dreams.